Oh, hey, it's been a while. Let's get right into it. So many of you have asked me how to color grade like a Ghibli film after seeing this video. So today I'll be showing you guys how to color grade two scenes, a bright scene and a well-exposed scene. And if you guys want to stay tuned until the very end, then I do have a small little cheat code for you if you're too lazy to color grade, or if you think color grading is too difficult for you at this time, then please stay till the end because I do have a little cheat code that might help you out. And if you're not familiar with DaVinci Resolve and you normally use CapCut and you want something simpler, I made a color grading tutorial for CapCut so that those of you who don't have laptops or don't have DaVinci Resolve can use this. So let's get into it. Okay, so we're gonna start with the bright scene first, and for this one I kind of chose this frame. I really like this frame, but it was very washed out because it was super bright on that day and it was during the afternoon, so we have to take down and correct this before we actually go into color grading. So I actually did my color space transform already. That's basically just turning your log footage to Rec 709. For me it was for Sony, so it's S-Log3 to Rec 709, but it really depends on what camera you're using and what settings you are on. But basically I've done that already, and we're just going to add this node and going to label it as correction. This one, the correction node, is basically just correcting your tint, your temperature, your exposure until you get the desired look you want. To add a node, you basically right click and then add node and you go to corrector. So for this one, I think because the highlights are really just blowing out, I didn't have an ND on that day. We're going to try to take down the highlights. I think I'm going to try to go for a -80. And then for contrast, I'll try to normally push it up to a 1.14-ish so that you're not also just breaking the picture. And for the pivot, I'm going to go for a 0.6 also. Depends on your frame. So basically the more pivot you have, darker the midtones and the highlights would be, and at the less pivot you have, it's gonna be brighter. So I'm gonna try to push it to, actually I'm gonna do a 0.7. Yes, I think that is the desired look. And for the tint, I normally try to do a little bit more greenish, but also because in Ghibli films, it's very more on the green side. It looks a bit more whimsical, and that's what I'm going to try to achieve here. So for the tint, let's go for -15. If you think that's too green, we can always just turn it down to -10 or -9 or -8. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks like so far. Then we are going to go to temperature, and this is sort of a very warm picture, so I'm just going to try to take it down to -70, or you can also try to just play around with it honestly, but I'm going with -70 for this frame. So I think for correction wise, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. We should go to the next one, which would be the curves. So I added a node, and then I'm going to go to node label and type in curves. This is just to basically organize your nodes. I normally don't do it when I'm actually color grading by myself because I actually know which nodes are which. Just to make it easier on yourself, you can also just name the nodes, and yeah, that's what I'm doing here. So for the curves, we're gonna go to this tab right here, and we're gonna go to this icon. This is basically for your reds, your greens and your blues, and also for your exposure just in general. So I'm gonna go straight to the green highlight. So you press on G, and then I normally put 3 points: highlights, midtones, and your shadows, and these points are gonna represent that for your green tones in this frame. I want the highlights on the greens to slightly increase to make it a little bit greener on the highlight. And for the midtones, I'm just gonna turn it slightly down. It's gonna give it a slight magenta tone. And then for your red midtones, so we're gonna go on R, which is red, and I want it to kind of bring it down a little bit to bring that green in the frame. For the next one, we're gonna do saturation, and normally people would go here to saturation, but the saturation when you turn up here, it just kind of brings everything up, including the values, the hues, as well as the brightness of your video, so it might just break your frame. So what we're gonna do is add another node and of course label it saturation. And then we're gonna right click on saturation and go to color space and press HSV. Once you've done that, we go to channels, we turn off channel 1 and we turn off channel 3. So you're left with channel 2 for your saturation. And this basically makes it only focused on your saturation and not the values and the hues of the frame though. So it's only affecting your saturation. So then we're gonna go to this tab here, the primaries color wheels, and we're gonna go to gamma and gain. On gamma, I try it out like here and there for like what saturation does fit the Ghibli vibe, and for gamma I would maybe try to go for like a 0.2, and then for gain I'll go around 1.21 or 1.20. They're really depending on like the frame. I feel like the orange here really like pops in this one, so I might just take it down a little bit, so like 1.18 is somewhere I'm happy with. But again, try it out and for yourself and like just play around with it. This next step is not necessary, but I like to do it sometimes, but it is only available on the paid version of DaVinci Resolve. This is something I like to do sometimes, so I'm gonna add a note and I'm gonna call it Film Look Creator. And then basically on your effects, you type in Film Look Creator and you should be able to find it and just drag it onto your node. And once you've done that, you can see immediately it changes basically the whole look of it. It basically just puts off like a film look or LUT on it. Then I normally just go to clean slate, so I have control over all of the controls and it's not like a preset thing. I normally go to Film Look Blend then see how much I want like the cinematic look. So there are a few options. There's cinematic, Rochester, Ikesaka, but normally I really like the cinematic look, especially because for Ghibli it's a lot of like greens and yellows that we are trying to bring out, and this brings it out a little bit more. Again, not necessary, but it is sort of like just like a taste thing. I normally just do a little bit. I'm just gonna go with like 0.1, and then you can also see the skin biasness or the tint of the skin. To the left, it's a little bit more green, and to the right, it's again a little bit more magenta like the tint. So after you've done that, we're gonna go to hue versus hue, and this is just to kind of like play around with the green tones of this image. Also because in Ghibli, there's a lot of green tones that kind of look more pastely, or it just looks a little bit more different than what you would normally see with a natural eye. Again, because it's an animation. So we're gonna just add a note and then go call it hue versus hue. And then for hue versus hue, you go to the curves icon and then you go under this hue versus hue icon. And I'm gonna put a dot right here between the greens and the yellows and blues. And then for this input hue, it really depends on your frame again. I'm just gonna go slightly down. I'm just trying not to change too much because of the skin tones, and obviously it changes the whole colors of your frames. So I'm pretty happy with this. I just like tuned it slightly down to give it more of like a greenish, yellowish look that I'm kind of happy with. So this is how it looks like at the moment. I think it's looking pretty good. The last step that I always like to add is film grain. Also because in Ghibli films, they use paper to animate, and that's why in some of the older Ghibli films, you do see like the paper grain that they use. So that's what we're trying to emulate, I guess, in that sense. We could do that on DaVinci Resolve by adding another node and naming it film grain. So once you've done that, you're gonna go to your effects and your library, and you're just gonna go search for film grain right here and drag it onto your node. There's normally gonna be a preset 16mm on that, so I just normally stay with 16mm, and you can also play with the opacity of the grain. I normally try to keep it in the middle, not too much, because it might just break your picture. It looks like you didn't expose your picture well. I'm just gonna keep it in the middle, and the texture is gonna be like how rough you want the grain to be. I basically always try to kind of keep it like a little softer. It depends on your taste and how, like, what kind of look you're trying to achieve. For the grain size as well, I feel like 60mm sometimes might be too rough and it doesn't look as great as I want it to. So I normally like tune it down to like a 0.25 or like 0.3-ish until I'm happy with it. And that's same goes to the grain strength. Like, play around with it, have fun with it, and see what basically fits your taste the best. I'm gonna go for more of like a rougher like grain strength here, just because I'm trying to match more of the Ghibli 90s look that we go for and that you see in like Spirited Away and like Totoro. So that's what we're trying to achieve. I think in general, I'm pretty happy with how this frame turned out. Let me know what you guys think, and please send me your color grading, well, your color grade when you're done with it on Instagram. You can tag me here at Megan Tan Hui Wen, and yeah, I would love to see like what you guys come up with and if this grade worked for you guys. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this, and this is how it turned out. Okay, so now we're gonna color grade the well-exposed frame. And this is something I chose. It was pretty shady, but there's also streaks of light coming in. So I think it's pretty well exposed and pretty even, the lighting. So we're gonna try to color grade this. Again, I've already color space transformed the frame, so we're gonna add a note again. For the correction, I am gonna try to go, it's actually very similar to the bright scenes, like the settings that I'm using, because I feel like it also matches the well-exposed frames. Just maybe like the highlights would be a little bit less taken down than the brighter scenes, of course. For the highlights, I'm just gonna try to go for a minus 25.5, and then we're gonna go with contrast, which is 1.14-ish, really depending on your taste. And for the pivot, I want to bring it down a little bit from exposure, so I'm gonna go with 0.600. And then for the temperature for this one, I feel like it's a little bit too warm for Ghibli, so I might be taking it down to minus 70 as well, like the first frame that we did. And for the tint, I do want a little bit more green tint in this, because I feel like in Ghibli also, again, it's super green and very like whimsical in that sense. So I am going to take my tint down to around minus 9.5 is good for me again. So after you've done that, we're gonna go to saturation. For this one, again, we're just gonna name it sat, and then we're gonna go to color space and go to HSV. Again, right click and then channels, take down channel 1 and take down again, right click channel 3. So again, you only have your saturation and not your values and your hues. For gamma, I'm gonna go with 0.02 to really bring up all those greens that you see in the background. And for gain, I'm gonna go with 1.20-ish. That might be a little bit overkill, so you see whatever fits your frame the best. And then after your saturation, we want to go to curves. So again, add node and then curves. And then we're going to go to this icon again, the curves on this icon as well. We're going to link all of that up YRGB, just so if you want to take down your exposures or change your exposures on the graph or the curves itself, this will be possible. You just put like 3 points, highlights, midtones, and shadows. But for me, I think I really just want to bring down the green highlights a little bit more, so I'm going to tap on G, which is green, and bring down the green highlights a little bit, so we have a little bit of like a magenta tone to it on my face, especially because it's very highlighted in the frame. I feel, yeah, there's just a lot of sun coming on my face that day, so let's try to bring down those highlights to a little bit of a magenta tone, which I am really liking. We can also bring down the green midtones a little bit more, just to kind of like balance that out. And for the red midtones, I think I'll also take it down a little bit, because I feel like my cheeks, I did put, I think, a little bit too much blush, and it was also really hot on the day, so my face in general was super red. It's just a little bit too strong for my taste. So for the midtones on the red curves, I'm going to bring that down a little bit to create that more of like a balance in my skin tones as well. After you've done saturation, curves, and correction, you can add a node again. And I'm gonna name this the film look creator. It doesn't make a very big difference, but for me, it just makes this tiny difference that I really like adding to my films and my videos in general. So it's really up to you. And then I'm gonna type in film in the library effects and go to film look creator and drag that into my node again. I'm gonna go with clean slate to have obviously a clean slate to work with, and then cinematic for the core look, and just kind of play around with it. For the skin biasness, I think I'm gonna go a little bit more on the pink magenta side, just because I feel like the greens are all reflecting on my face and it just kind of looks green in general, like on my skin. So we're gonna go take that to a little bit more on the magenta side. And I'm kind of happy with this, honestly. We're gonna add grain now. So again, add a node, name the node grain, and go to your library effects and look for film grain, and just drag that into your node. Again, we're gonna 16mm, and from there you can really just like play around and set whatever the settings you desire onto your film. And I think for the last touches, I kind of want to play with the hues. I feel like the green is a little bit too neon in this frame. So I'm gonna again name it hue versus hue, and then go to this tab here under curves, hue versus hue, and put the green, put a dot on the green graph between yellow and blue, and just kind of play with it and see how you like the green tones. So you see that it does affect all of the hues on your frame, so be careful with this. You don't want to break your frame, or you don't want to make it look funny or adjust, like, you know, affect your skin tones. For skin tones, if you want to avoid that, you can also like edit the skin tones later on separately. That means you're just going to be selecting your skin tones, but we're not going to do this in this video because that's pretty in-depth. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. It's going to go like 16.00 input hue and hue rotation 0.80. I am pretty happy with this look. Let me know how you guys like it. I think this would be my ideal Ghibli look. And here are the results for the well exposed frames. So this is going to be the last scene that we're going to be color grading today. It's going to be like a night scene since we've done sort of very bright scenes, well exposed scenes, and so now we're going to the darker scenes. I've already done the color space transform, as you know, so we're going to go straight into a correction node. And for this one, it is a very, very warm setting that I was shooting in. And also the tablecloth that was reflecting the light off of my face was very red. Naturally, the whole frame looks very red, so we're going to bring that down. And for this one, it's going to be a little bit extreme with the temperature. Again, depending on your frame, you have to like see and adjust accordingly. But I had to sort of like take this down to around minus 1500 to get like the temperature right. And then for the contrast, I'm gonna say this is already pretty contrasty because there's a lot of like blacks and whites in the frame itself. So let's take the contrast to a 0.0445-ish. That should work just fine. Again, depending on your frame. And then let's go for 0.595 for the pivot, just to kind of like bring that down a little bit on the highlights, because the highlights here were pretty strong. It was basically a spotlight on the table itself, so it was just a lot of highlights just coming onto my face as well as on the plates and everything that was white in the frame. So that's why I'm trying to bring it down. And for the highlights, I'm gonna try to do it on like a minus 13. And for tint, I'm gonna go with greenish tint. I'm gonna go and try minus 20. Yeah, I'll try with the minus 20. That looks pretty good to me. So for the next one, we shall go to our saturation. Again, then gamma and gain, just put it up whatever you want. I'm gonna try the gamma being a 0.01, the gain being a 0.75, because I feel like the colors here were a bit too strong for me after I've color space transformed it. So I'm gonna be doing a 0.75, bringing the saturation down a little bit. It was just a little bit too red for my taste. And I feel like in most of the darker scenes in Ghibli, they're always a little bit more neutral. Like the tones are a little bit more neutral in the darker scenes. Like when they're eating at home, like this similar scene that you're seeing, like the ones in Ponyo where they're eating like ramen in the house after coming back. So I think I'm trying to go for like more of like a neutral, less contrasty color and saturated look here. Or for the gamma, I'm just gonna try to go for like a 0.03. I think that's good. I think it's pretty neutral and not too in your face with the saturation as well. After saturation, we're gonna go ahead and add another node. And for this one, we're gonna go to our curves and we're gonna name the node curves. Go to our curves page, go to this icon right here, which is your curves. And then I'm gonna try to reduce the red highlights in this frame because again, the red cloth was bouncing so much red light off of my face and just kind of makes the whole frame just look absolutely red. That's what we're gonna try to do. I'm gonna try to reduce the red highlights here a little bit, give it a little bit more of like a green highlight tint. I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks like, especially on the skin tones. It looks pretty natural, not too red and not too green as well. So I'm pretty happy with this, and I wouldn't change anything else on the curves, but again, this depends on your frame. The next node we're gonna do is hue versus hue again, and then we're gonna go to this hue versus hue tab under the curves tab. It really depends on your shot again, but I'm just gonna put one dot here on the reds and bring it slightly down to get that balance between the green and the magenta and red tints in my face. Okay, so the next step is obviously you can either do the film look creator thing or you can also add grain. I'm just gonna try to see how the film look creator thing looks like on this frame. So I'm just gonna go to the library again, type in film, and you'll automatically see a film look creator. Again, gonna go to clean slate, film look blend, under cinematic. I'm just gonna try to play around with like the values and see how that looks. I'm just gonna keep it at that 0.186 cinematic look. It really is all up to you and it's all about the artistic choice. And then I'm gonna add a note. The final note is gonna be for me the grain, the film grain. Again, go to your library, type in grain, and you should be able to find it. 16mm is great. I'm just gonna take down the grain size a little bit because for my taste, it is a little bit too big. And the texture, I'm also gonna take down the texture a little bit. For darker scenes, it's super easy to make it look like you didn't expose well. There's a lot of noise in your frame because yeah, in darker scenes, you might just turn up the ISO a little bit too high. And if you add a little bit too much grain, people might think that it's just like badly exposed, I guess. So for the grain, I try to make it like a little bit more fine. So less texture and smaller grain size, as well as a little less grain strength than normal. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I think it does give a very warm, homey, Ghibli vibe to it. Also, if you guys are looking to improve your color grading workflow, I would definitely recommend the Lexar SSD. It is so fast. It reaches up to 2000 MB per second when transferring files, and the playback with the SSD when you're color grading is crazy. It's like so light. It's like a credit card that you can just put in your pocket. Like, it's so portable and so light, and it's so easy to travel with. That's why I bring it around everywhere with me, and it's super easy to color grade because playback is so fast, transferring files are such a breeze. So yeah, check the link in my description below if you guys want to get one of these. So let's move on to the cheat code that I was talking to you guys about if you guys are too lazy to color grade or just like need a quick fix for your videos and you're on like the move. But yeah, let's get into that. So what you can basically do on DaVinci is import a frame from Ghibli. And I got this frame from Ghibli, their website. They have like these 4K free stills that you can download and like copy and paste. So I got that one from here, and I was gonna color grade this frame right here and try it out and see if this cheat code works. I've already color space transformed this, by the way, from log to rec 709. So once you've done that, just add a note, and this is gonna be shot to match. So what DaVinci basically does with the shot to match is basically like it copies the grade from a shot, and you can have the grade from whatever shot you want with whatever shot you have to your liking. So basically, you have your timeline open on the color page on DaVinci, and you go and right click on this frame from Ghibli that I have, and you click on shot match to this clip, and it automatically shot matches it. Obviously now it's looking really crazy because they copied all of the green highlights, all the green, like the saturation is super high. So what you want to go and do is go ahead to this tab right here, the key input, and you're going to go to key output under gain, and you're just going to take this down a lot because it is just too much. I normally try to take it down until like 0.15, 0.18, really depending on like how it looks. Sometimes, most of the time, it will be a little bit too much. It'll be too saturated. So I normally take it down to like a 0.50, and already there you can see it looks great. Like it looks like you just graded it out of thin air, which basically you have, which is crazy what DaVinci can do. So once you have this grade, basically you can just go ahead and like add another node and kind of like color correct it to your liking. But yeah, it's super easy, and you basically already have a finished Ghibli look in that sense. But obviously this is not the like most professional way to do it. It's just obviously a really quick and fun and easy fix when you like want to get something out there on social media or like in film. And sometimes it really helps you navigate how to color grade a certain look, like if you don't know how to do it from scratch. So for me, I was also just like looking back and forth, matching this, and then also trying to make my own Ghibli grade that I showed to you guys previously in this video. So once you have that, you have the color correction, and you can go back to your color wheels tab, and here you can obviously do your temperature. You can make it a little bit warmer. For me, I would turn down the highlights because they are totally washed out by this grade that we did, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit more of contrast and pivot it to look a little less washed out and bright. And there you have it. You have basically a full color, like a Ghibli grade that you have out of thin air. This is actually really crazy, and this is like one of my favorite features on DaVinci, so go ahead and try it out. I feel like the grade looks exactly like my grade, the one I just showed you just now, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, try it out for yourself. Super fun and easy if you just want to get something out and impress your friends. These are the results from shot to match for the Ghibli look. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you guys like it, then give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and please tag me if you try this color grade. I would love to see your work and how you recreate it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you till the next one.